In this video, I will take you through some of the perspectives of the modern philosopher David Hume. Specifically, we will be exploring his perspectives on human knowledge and morality. David Hume was a philosopher of the 18th century and was part of the debate among philosophers between perspectives of British empiricism and rationalism. In a nutshell, this debate questioned whether our knowledge came from the outside, our experiences and things that could be perceived by the senses, or whether knowledge came from the inside, strictly from reason. Within this debate, Hume shared the perspective of British empiricism, believing that knowledge came from our experiences and sense perception. He expressed this perspective in his texts, two of which include his Inquiry Concerning Human Understanding and expanding upon this view to encompass questions of morality in his Treatise of Human Nature. After determining that general human knowledge comes from our experiences and sense perceptions, he asked the question, how do humans acquire a sense of knowledge of morality? Similar to his views on knowledge in general as coming from sense perception, Hume thought that moral knowledge came from moral sense. Additionally, Hume categorizes our senses and experience within what he understood as passion. So, our feelings or passions are what determine our sense perception and how we understand our experiences. Essentially, passion can be understood as driving knowledge. So, if sense and passion drive knowledge and morality, where does reason fall? In understanding what drives our action and morality, Hume placed a higher emphasis on passion over reason. He believed that reason is the slave to passion, and reason alone cannot motivate the will. Passion, Hume claims, is the driving force of our action. We may use reason to understand how to get from point A to point B, but passion is the driving force motivating us towards B. Similarly, moral distinctions are not derived from reason, so we cannot use our reason to tell whether something is morally good or morally bad. We must use passion, our moral sentiments, to determine the morality of something. So, if something brings us pleasure, or we see that it brings someone else pleasure, we experience feelings of approval and can determine that thing to be morally good. If something brings us pain, or we see that it brings someone else pain, we experience moral disapproval and can determine that thing to be morally bad. Reason cannot make these determinations. Within this distinction between passion and reason, it is important to realize that passion cannot be contrary to reason. It may seem that our reasoning becomes contrary to passion, like when we have a desire to eat 4 pieces of cake in one sitting, and our rationality tells us not to, because we might not feel good afterwards. That's not reason being contrary to passion. That's a second passion of our desire to feel good or healthy, outweighing the first desire to eat a lot of sweets. Here we see again how reason is not the thing that drives us. Only passion can drive us, and only passions can override other passions to redirect our actions. Reason simply explains how to get what we want, but it is insufficient in driving us towards that thing. So let's recap. Here are the 4 main points of Hume's perspective on passion, reason, and human will. 1. Passion is the driving force of the will. 2. Moral distinctions are derived from moral sentiments. 3. Reason is the slave to passions. It cannot motivate the will, but it can guide the will. And 4. Passion is never contrary to reason. So I have one last question for you to consider. In your own life, do you find yourself driven by passion or by reason more? Or by both? Can you have one without the other?